what can Illinois do to bounce back this year? When you look at what Brett Bielema's group did in 2023, a 5-7 season was obviously disappointing. That being said, there's a lot to be excited about heading into the 2024 season. We look at the top returning players that can make things happen, get them back to a bowl game, and look at who's going to be the names that you need to know. We're going to start with the defensive side of the ball because even though they took a step back last year, a lot of people surrounding that program expect the defense to get back to what it was 2 years ago. And Seth Coleman is going to play a big role in that. Now, who is the best player on this team? You have a number of players that have the case for that. Seth Coleman is definitely one of those. You have to reward production. You have to reward people for being on the field. You can't always go off potential. Seth Coleman has both of those 50 tackles, 9 tackles for loss, 6 sacks. Someone who is a big time player, has been for the last couple of years, and someone who potentially has a bright future at the next level. If Seth Coleman plays the role that we expect him to play, again, there's optimism surrounding this program, especially after what you saw last year. This is a group that expects to be back to what they were in 2022 with an 8-5 finish versus last year with 5-7. And Coleman and the defense are going to be a big reason why that happens. The other guy on the opposite side of him, Gabe Jacobs, you're looking at someone who is a freak and someone who has a bright future and should be in the NFL after this season. 31 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, 4 sacks, limited a little bit last year. And so you're liking to see him stay healthy for a full year. And if you are, you're going to see a lot of exciting things. Coleman and Jacobs are two guys that can get to the quarterback in a hurry, and they can do that again this year. You expect a lot of big things from this defense, and you'll see why when you look at this list. So you're expecting what we saw 2 years ago versus what we saw last year. Dylan Rosiak is another reason why 82 tackles, 7.5 tackles for loss, 4 forced fumbles last year, knows how to get the football back to his offense. And again, even though the numbers don't tell you that this is going to be a better group, you look at the talent returning and it's easy to see why. You also have a couple players coming in from the transfer portal that will add to that excitement. Rosiak is just one of those guys. When you have all the attention on Gabe Jacobs and Seth Coleman, you're going to expect some big things from the players that see more favorable matchups because the opposition has to send extra help to those guys. They're going to have to send help to wherever those guys line up. You're going to have to shift what your play and your production is going to be because of those guys are so disruptive. That opens things up for a guy who, again, we just said has 4 forced fumbles. When you're not aware of guys like Dylan Rosiak, you're going to be in trouble because you're not paying attention to what he's doing. And he has proven that he is someone who can create turnovers and make big plays for this team. One of the more surprising additions in the transfer portal was Illinois adding Texas cornerback Terrence Brooks. This is someone who just played for a team that was competing in the college football playoff. And now you add him to a defense that everyone expects big things from, and it's just a matter of putting it all together. Terrence Brooks had 3 interceptions last year. He is someone who can elevate the secondary, a secondary that finished in terms of defending the pass 71st. You're looking to take a step forward, and you have talent to be able to do that. So finding ways to elevate your talent level, finding ways to get your guys to play at a higher level as well on the field. Terrence Brooks is going to help you with that. An under the radar addition and someone who a lot of people expect to play at a high level is JC Davis, the New Mexico transfer who a lot of people didn't know about is still on Illinois. I think a lot of people expected him to decommit from Illinois, but he is still with the Illini. And now that the transfer portal is closed, he is going to play a big role for this offensive line. An offensive line that lost a couple of key players. So Davis coming in, a guy who has a bright future, someone who a lot of people expect to play in the NFL. He is someone that's going to help this offense. This is an offense that needs to take a step forward as well because the defense, we all knew that the defense couldn't do this forever. They couldn't do what they did 2 years ago forever. We knew they were going to take a step back eventually, and they did that. And the offense didn't do its part. So the offense needs to get back on track, and it all starts up front. Davis is going to play a big role. A lot of that also hinges on what Luke Altmaier can do. Coming back for another year, he is the undisputed starter as of right now. So we'll see what happens as the year progresses. Illinois needs him to play better, plain and simple. Over 1,800 yards last year, 13 touchdowns, but he threw 10 interceptions. You need to see him take care of the football a little bit better. And it's going to be tough because the Big Ten is very different this year. You're going to see an elevated group of talented teams coming in, in terms of those four Pac-12 teams, and Allmeyer is going to have to play at a higher level. Plain and simple, you're going to have to play better than you did last year. Even if you played well at times, which I think Allmeyer did, you need to take your game to another level. You need to find a way to get your offense going. The passing attack that was actually decent last year needs to play at that same level or even better if you can't get the rushing attack going. But when you look at what they have coming back, the rushing attack should be just fine. Caden Fegan is a monster at running back, 6'3", 250 pounds, someone who is set to have a big year and can handle the physical style of play in the Big Ten. 438 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground, 116 yards reception on 9 receptions and 1 touchdown. If you can get him in space, that's terrifying. He can already handle life in the trenches with his size, but now you get him, exposed to a defensive back or even a linebacker. That's going to do a lot of good things for this offense. So finding creative ways to get guys open and finding ways to get them the football plays a big role in how successful this team is going to be. Back to the defensive side of the ball, obviously Terrence Brooks is going to play a huge role. Xavier Scott had a big year, a career year for him. 11 passes defended, 2 interceptions. He is someone who probably won't get as much love as Terrence Brooks heading into the year, but teams will quickly learn that he is not someone that you really want to mess with. He has a big opportunity in front of him. Again, this defense needs to take a step forward, and the secondary has the talent to do exactly that. We talked about the passing attack. We'll kind of finish on that here with the next two guys. Pat Bryant has the ability to be that go-to guy with Isaiah Williams gone. 560 yards, 7 touchdowns, a good frame at 6'3", 200 pounds. Again, if he and Altmaier can find some chemistry, they can figure out how to get the job done on a more consistent basis, then you're looking at a team that, again, will be much better in 2024. Again, the passing attack was solid last year. If they can continue doing that and the rushing attack takes a step forward, this offense will be much better this year. The tight end position got a great addition in Cole Rusk, the transfer coming in, had 507 yards and 6 touchdowns. And you're looking at a guy who has a big frame, 6'5", 250 pounds, someone who can be a big target for Altmaier. Again, if this passing attack does what it needs to do, you're looking at a really, really fun team in 2024. And the defense obviously needs to do its part. Brett Bielema knows that his team has the talent to be an underrated group, to be a scrappy group, and a group that can surprise a lot of people. It's going to be tough in the new Big Ten, but when you look at what this team has coming back, there is plenty of reason for optimism and reason to believe that they're going to be closer to what they were 2 years ago than they were in 2023.